Those of you who watch my video on Pandora tomorrow would know I like the game because the stealth is tight and contained instead of open and directionless. If you're one of these cool cats, then you might wonder why your boy Perturbator is about to start clamoring over ground zeros when it's praised for being so open. Well, strap yourselves in and open those ears, because today I'm going to explain why Camp Omega is just so fine. So let's take it from the end of the first cutscene. Big man boss clambers up some rocks and we get our first look at the place. This opening shot is so sweet because by placing you on some higher ground, the level designers give you this awesome view of most of the map. Not only do you get a peek at most of the level, but there's also a prime look at the first little puzzle, the gate and the searchlight. How do you deal with them? The searchlight and the contrasting oranges and blues are designed to guide your eyes to the gate, but some of you cool kids might notice another ledge to the right giving you a vantage point to take out the tower guard as suggested by Miller. This is brought into focus with our little friend up there swinging that lamp around, and it's timed so that when it focuses back on the gate, these two soldiers will part ways. Great stuff. First and most obvious option is just going to the gate from here, as the colours and direction of the light leads your eyes there. But those who don't rush on from this point will find themselves on another platform that creates a clear path up and around the fence, meaning you don't have to bother with the gate at all. Great thing about this alternate route is a patch of grass is placed under the drop-off point to give players a little safe zone from which to plan their next move once they get in. Now, Miller the lady killer says to go east, but here the designers have presented another dilemma. The open road being monitored by a searchlight make dashing on through there a little tricky. On top of this, seeing as the tower is placed head on and far away, placing a good shot is quite difficult. If you haven't already realised you should try a different route, then the ensuing jeep should do a good job of forcing you to one side. Going left will yield a maze of tents and enemies where you'll need to carefully peer around each corner, hoping and praying someone isn't waiting for you on the other side. Going right nets you a trail of grass to chill in, but timing your endeavours to the next set of camouflage with the turning of the searchlight can get pretty precise. What's cool about this is that the outdoors nature of the level allows you to shift between the two without having to exit the way you came in and go all the way round again. Very fluid design that lends to on-the-spot thinking and changes of plans. While there are technically two entrances to this prisoner's area, the previous scenario all but pushes you in the direction of this side, where the overlooking tower seems like the easiest way in, but if you think you might get seen going that way, there's a quicker way in with this roof. This puts you more out in the open, but it gets you a better view of the prison guard, and it means you won't have to crawl on past here. After enacting Snake's darkest fantasies, there's a really simple scenario where the only way out is through one gate, but as suggested by the cutscene, the noise from surrounding prisoners draws in these fellows right here. In all honesty, this bit's not that thrilling. The fact that there's only one exit in constant danger of being eyed up guarantees those going for a pure stealth run will have to wait around in the brush while this dude has a go at POWs.
Shut the hell up!
From there on out, things are looking up though. You'll almost certainly call in the helicopter down by this alcove and from there pick up the tape with clues to Paz's location. Even despite the audio cues given with the tape, most players will know where to go on instinct. This is because Kojima and the gang placed a much nearer exit point that lands you closer to the main objective and just by a truck facing to the right. Players that stick to the road will eventually find themselves in a pretty open area with not only a load of foes trotting around but a security camera. However, those paying attention to their surroundings should notice a fairly obvious passage guaranteeing a pretty safe ride through. Get past this camera however you may, scamper down that staircase, and he's only gone and done it again. But let's go back a bit, because I'm really fond of another way of getting to Paz. Right after you drop Chico off, the tape you get from him autoplays, giving you clues on where you might find Paz. Funnily enough, whether by accident or intentionally, it's timed so that Miller will mention hearing vehicles right as you're bound to come across this truck.
I hear vehicles.
Once again, the designers have constructed a higher platform to give you a better view of what these dudes are up to, mitigating the fact that the slope would have given you lower ground and a less than optimal lookout otherwise. Once you see the driver pop off, distract the other guard, hop in the back, and enjoy the ride to your destination. Not only does this all happen a lot faster, but you get a satisfactory little cutscene to sound the opening of the gates, echoing the tape you picked up earlier. The view out back also lets you keep a little mental note of the route the truck took to get there. You may need that later. Now technically you can just go through that earlier door, but first time players who don't know the full layout will more than likely be drawn to this back end route here. In exchange for the easier ride, there's a decently open area with 2 cameras and a bunch of patrols, but thankfully there's a decent amount of obstacles placed around to block their lines of sight. Those feeling extra paranoid can kill the switch to shut off the lights and cameras for a while for safe passage. Tiptoeing down into this disco den, we finally get to Paz and she seems to be doing just fine. Heading out, a guard here prevents you from making a dash up the stairs, but thankfully the camera up there doesn't angle down this way for whatever reason. This slow pace gives the player some time to notice the camera's habits if they hadn't come through here earlier. It also gives Paz a chance to show off how quiet she can be around enemies. Good job. At around this point, the guards are bound to notice that Paz isn't knocking around in that cell anymore, setting all the enemies on alert. At this point, the player is well versed in the map and how to get to the escape points, so this is the time where a choice is made. You can try going back the route you came, but this time it's a bit trickier because you can't crawl through that space with Paz on your back, so you need to be out in the open. You can try cutting across to sneak on by a little faster and reduce the time you risk getting spotted, but the way the level naturally guides you on through to the central base, most players would be largely unfamiliar with this route and so chance getting lost or running into unseen enemy patrols. But there is another relatively quiet option. In all seriousness, a potentially explosive finish to this mission is perfectly set up. The large and unfamiliar nature of the map make first-time ventures to both targets likely to heavily rely on being quiet, or at least using the tranquilizer. Once you've managed to navigate the labyrinth, your sole purpose is to get out with both you and the prisoner alive, now with pretty extensive knowledge of your route out. The odds are stacked against you, especially seeing as you can't use your more violent weapons with Paz on your back, so a daring sprinter or reckless drive is made all the more heart-stopping. A neat little touch is that because of this disadvantage, by far the safest place to call in the helicopter is where you started off, nicely rounding off the level by echoing its introduction. As with the last time, this video isn't about showing all the potential choices you can make. Of course, there are other ways to get in or get out. These are just particularly well-designed parts of the level that stood out to me. Kojima pretty much had to use ground zeros to prove to people that a more open approach could work for the Phantom Pain, and also scrounge up a little more funding. So Camp Omega ended up being really solid as a result. I suppose the main takeaway from this one is that open world doesn't have to mean empty world. Despite not being indoors or entirely linear, this map still constructs plenty of individual tight scenarios to make your way around. But it also retains the advantage of an open structure. It allows players to flirt between several different avenues of entry and gives your actions in one part of the map a potential knock-on effect. Ground Zeroes may have been a scam, but it was definitely a well-designed scam.